SantaCruzSentinel.com.
Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Reporter's Notebook podcast presented by the Santa Cruz Sentinel. I'm your host, Anthony L. Solis, and today we're going to talk about interning here at the Sentinel. I have a young lady here, Elaine Ingalls, who is kind of smiling at the thought of being on this podcast and giggling. But Elaine, thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.
First of all, why did you want to intern? Why did you want to intern specifically with us, or did you want to intern with us and we were the only ones available? You can be honest. It's okay.
Okay, honestly. So I came to Santa Cruz mid-September last year, and I graduated from Assumption College in May with an English degree. And I wanted to try different fields of journalism and writing, and I thought the newspaper was a good option for that because I hadn't tried that before. And coming to Santa Cruz, I figured I'd contact the newspaper to see what options they had, if they had any jobs available. And they said they didn't have any jobs, but then I talked to Kara, and after looking at my credentials, she thought I was better fit for the internship. So I was going to try in the fall, and then time-wise it didn't work out. So I was back and forth with her a lot, not sure if I'd be in Santa Cruz or what. And then it worked out that I could take an internship class with Cabrillo in conjunction with the internship here. And started the end of January.
Okay, that's great. And Kara Myber-Guzman is who you were talking to, who you're referring to.
Yes,
yeah.
The editor.
Just to be clear. We don't have a lot of Karas here, but
Gotcha.
Have you surprised yourself with some of the things that you've done here? Have you done anything outside of your comfort zone since you've gotten here? Or actually, first of all, have you even enjoyed it?
Yeah, I have really liked it. Yeah. Outside of my comfort zone, I guess I'm always conscious of like working in an office and being on a phone interview and not sounding stupid.
Because we can all hear you?
Yeah, because everybody can hear me. But I just learned that you have to roll with the punches and see what the other person on the line is offering you and just go with how the interview is. Like prepare it ahead of time, but also see where it takes you. Do
you let people know that you're an intern here when you talk to them or interview them, or do you just say you are with the Santa Cruz Sentinel?
I usually say I'm a reporter with the Sentinel.
Do you think they might treat you different if you said the word intern?
Yes. I had that experience once where I told them I was an intern after because I was getting dates mixed up for pictures, and she responded differently knowing that I was an intern. This isn't proper protocol. But otherwise, I have not told people that I'm an intern.
Okay. Pretty interesting. I never interned anywhere, so I actually don't know what the intern experience is like. I got a full-time job at a newspaper right out of high school.
Okay.
So I'm always, to be honest, I'm actually always kind of curious about what it is, what it's like being an intern, and if anybody does treat you any differently. I mean, an intern here at the Sentinel, as much as I would really, really like it, it's not to go get the reporters or the editors coffee or anything like that. Like, we actually put you to work. You are, for all intents and purposes, a full-on reporter, as far as we're concerned. Anyway, did you feel that coming in? I mean, we kind of threw you into a story, I think, on day one, right? Or like 2 or 3 stories even.
Yeah. We started with a feature story on the first one was the Twisted Tasting in Santa Cruz that happened mid-February.
Right. So, yeah, that was your first story.
That was my first
And that was for me, my section. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I was overwhelmed my first day with just figuring out the technology. The reporting section wasn't so bad, but just knowing the system and knowing how to transfer my documents into the system and getting titles and everything worked out. Besides that, I really liked that I was able to jump into it. I didn't really feel like it was too much of a slow start. I feel like I was nervous about making deadlines and getting stories done on time, but I realized that it as I go, it gets easier. I interned over the summer with a Catholic publishing company, and it was just a very different pace and very different atmosphere and I didn't enjoy it as much compared to this. I really like that there is a deadline because that makes me like more excited about it, I guess.
What was their deadline like? What was the difference, really?
The job was different. What I was doing a lot more editing and proofreading of longer texts of books, and I like reading books and everything, but this was just live events, things that were happening, and where I had the chance to go and talk to different people on the phone. I really like socializing and getting quotes from different people, and that was more like sitting in my desk, going to the editor, asking what this meant, going back and fixing it. Very not social.
How much experience did you have with actually interviewing people before you started here?
My senior year of college, I did a community service learning project where I guess it was more of a class where we did a radio show, and there were 3 radio shows that we did, and we interviewed people in Worcester, Massachusetts, where my school was. Besides that, I had taken an intro to journalism course, and I think that was about it. So
that I didn't know about the radio show, to be honest, and so that kind of explains something. When we moved to our new office over here, 324 Encinal Street in Santa Cruz, we made sure that we got one room set up where we can do this podcast. Moving here was what we were waiting for to do this podcast. And so we've got the mixer, the microphones, everything set up. And I'm showing Kara Myberg Guzman and a few other people some of the equipment that we have and the things that we will be able to do. And there was some excitement, and some of the reporters like, whatever. Now you came in, Elaine, and it was like you were a kid in a candy store. You were just like, ooh, and you immediately sat down and put on headphones and started going like, testing 1, 2, 3, and pretending like you're on a radio show. Yeah. I thought that was the most hilarious thing, because it's the same thing I would do if I was presented with all of this equipment for the first time.
For sure.
So yeah, you've got the radio experience. Is it different interviewing people on air versus just over the phone trying to write down quotes?
Yeah, for sure. With the radio show that we did, we recorded everything, and then we had to go through and cut down the ums and the uhs and the things that didn't fit and put in music in between, so make it like a concise segment. And now it's
very NPR like when they put together their, like This American Life or that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely more personal, and even though it can be a little rockier on the spot, I enjoy, I feel more official when I've got the headphones on and I'm interviewing someone one-on-one.
And you have actually come in here and interviewed somebody over the phone to record. Now, were you? We didn't publish that at all. That was just for you to go back and listen to quotes, and you'd let them know you were recording. But were you talking to them like it might be published? Or was it just more of like, no, this is just for me?
I had it in mind, but I was also asking questions. It was with the musical composer for the Santa Cruz Symphony, and I don't know a lot about music. So it was more questions personally for me to understand that could do well on the air for people that didn't know a lot about music. But I also had it in mind, like, okay, try to sound a little more professional because it could go somewhere else.
So you mentioned that you don't, that was a story that you didn't know a lot about the subject going in. Have you found that challenging? I mean, we're not keeping you to one subject. Like, you're not just writing food. You're not just writing, city meetings or anything like that. Like, you're kind of doing everyththing. So there are things that you're more comfortable with, or that you're you need to learn a little bit more, do you think? What's that like going in?
Absolutely. I'm not an expert on everything by any means. So it's a lot of looking at the press release, asking the editors what specifically they are looking for, and then if not, doing research on the subjects to make sure I understand the backgrounds on different restaurants or different places I'm going to talk to. And I really like the research aspect of it because I'm learning more for myself. And if I ever want to check out these places, if I want to go to a restaurant or if I want to support a school, I can do that. And yeah, I feel like it just brings in a personal connection for me. And if I have questions on that, then I feel more prepared. And if I ever have to use it again later, I can.
What, so far anyway, because you're here until when?
The internship ends the end of May 29th.
May 29th. Okay. Mm-hmm. So far, what's been your favorite thing to do here?
Like my favorite kind of story?
Whichever. What's been your favorite thing, your favorite experience?
My favorite experience.
I mean, I know you got to go to Twisted Tasting.
Yeah.
Not bad for your first story.
Right, definitely. There's definitely some perks to doing some individual stories. The one story I really enjoyed doing was for Shamrock and Roller, one of the roller derby girls.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and after talking to her, I didn't know anything about the sport, for one, so that was all new to me. And it was really cool to just see everything from her perspective, and then she offered me a ticket to the opening derby, so that was really cool.
Well, I didn't talk to you about that. You mentioned that you were going to go, and so what'd you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd play the sport. I'm not an aggressive person. I can watch from the sidelines. It was interesting. It was definitely entertaining. They've always got something going on.
And I asked you about your favorite. Have there been anything that you're just can be? Has there been anything here that was your least favorite, or that you don't particularly want to do again?
I like more stories where I can talk to the people about, or just different people about their businesses or who they are. When I have to do research, right now I'm doing one on the county health rankings, and understanding different databases is a little harder for me, and it's a follow-up to something, so not having been there for the event, I feel like I'm missing a piece of it. So I really enjoy stories where I've been able to go to cover it. For example, I did the Valentine's Day weddings at the courthouse, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed a story I did on alternative spring breaks at schools in Watsonville. So going to it, I feel like I can feel that extra flair, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You haven't had to do much breaking news here, have you? Mm-mm. That can be an issue, especially for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. We've had to have interns. I've been here a long time, and we've had to have, in my memory, we've had to have interns cover breaking news, especially if something happens on the weekend. And we usually have an intern. That was when we used to have interns come in. They'd cover our Saturday or the Sunday shifts, and when things would happen, pretty bad things, that could shake them. And you've been pretty lucky that you haven't had to do that, knock on wood. What do you hope to get out of this? I mean, moving forward, after you're done with the Sentinel and the internship, I mean, what's the goal? What's the end game here?
It's a really good question. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know if I want to specifically go into print journalism for the rest of my life.
Don't worry. There won't be print journalism for the rest of your life.
I know, that's true. I think if I were to try to find a job at a newspaper and see how that went as a full-time reporter, I'd be interested in that. I think it just gives me practice working on deadlines and communicating with people and being able to ask hard questions. I haven't had to do any hard news yet. I would like to get that experience to see what it's like, but I'm glad that I'm working my way up to that.
Yeah, we don't want to throw you into that on day one.
I don't want to be thrown into that either. Yeah, I think there's skills that I can take outside of the print journalism and communicating with others and understanding a work environment in an office. When I was younger, I didn't think I'd ever want to work in a cubicle in a day, 9 to 5. And it's not really like that here. It's you're going back to write your story, but you can go out and do interviews, and it's much more exciting. And I feel like the staff here definitely adds to it. At my last internship, it was, I don't want to say an older generation, but they'd all been there for a while, and I couldn't really relate to anybody. And there's I'm not in the same age group as everybody here, but everybody's very welcoming, and they don't really treat me like an intern. I feel more like a staff member.
Not that I'd be opposed to you bringing coffee every once in a while,
Right. But
that's not limited to interns. I wouldn't mind if anybody brought me coffee every once in a while.
Right.
Anything else you'd want to add about working here? Before we go, there's actually is one thing that I'm curious about. why journalism, especially someone who is the millennial or younger generation? Journalism in the age of fake news and that, the decline of print journalism in general. I find it a little fascinating when somebody does still decide to want to go into journalism. So what is it about journalism that made you want to work in this field for now?
I really enjoy writing. When I was little, I decided that I wanted to do creative writing when I grew up. Still growing up. Don't think I'll ever be a grown up, but
no,
we just get older. Anyhow, I think with journalism, it also keeps me up to date and knowing in the world. I feel like we can get in our own bubbles and involved in our own families and schools and communities. And I feel like when I was thinking about doing creative writing, it was for my own benefit and what's something I enjoyed doing. But with print journalism or any kind of journalism, I feel like there's more purpose to it. Like you're getting a message out to the people. And yeah, there's a lot of problems with fake news and other things, but I still feel like it's really important regardless of what type of media platform it is. I don't know that print journalism is going to last a lot longer, but I'm kind of interested to see how it will transform and if I'll be involved in that transformation.
Okay. Well, Kara, the managing editor, started out as an intern only about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, here at the Sentinel. So there's always opportunities when you have an internship. I think a lot of our reporters over the years have been hired based on the fact that they were an internship here. So you get your foot in the door. That's the first goal down. You got it. So, Elaine, thanks for taking the time. I know I just kind of grabbed you last minute to come on in here, but I think being an intern here at the Sentinel is something that a lot of people would find not only fascinating, but just kind of want to know how it works. And thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed it. And something I've really enjoyed about the internship is just like anybody is having their name in print. I think that's really cool.
That doesn't really get old.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that feeling doesn't go away. It's still a good feeling.
Yeah, I've clipped all of my articles and I have a big list going, but it's been really great interning here and I've had a good experience and I'll be upset when it's over, but I definitely think it's valuable and I recommend internships to anyone who is interested in the newspaper or basically any field they're doing.
All right. Thank you. You can listen to The Reporter's Notebook on iTunes, Google Play, and now on Stitcher. And I do believe we are also available on iHeartRadio starting this week. If you'd like to give us a phone call, leave us a message for suggestions for future episodes, you can. The phone number is 831-706-3205. Leave a voicemail, and there's always a possibility we'll play it on the air. Thank you for joining me this week. See you later.